Chapter 58. Did you not say there is a mysterious power in the red stone? I am certain that Duke Beleta will find a way to make it serve your cause. The court mages and the priests in the sun god are all working day and night for you, your majesty, and I too. The empress trailed off, forcing a smile onto her face. Please continue to take the herbs I have prepared for you. Replenish your energy and you'll surely find a solution. Everything will be fine. The emperor swallowed his murmurs he couldn't bring himself to voice directly to his empress. Even if he could mend what was already broken, how long would it last? On an unusually sunny afternoon, 3 people stood in a deserted physical training field set up behind the cavalry barracks. They were Yudir, Kana, and Gakane. Before we start, how are you feeling? At Yudir's question, Kana and Gakane closed their eyes, seemingly checking their own conditions. I am fine. Me too. Commander, do you not need to step back a bit? I'm also fine, of course. Don't worry about me, and proceed. Kishir, who had elegantly seated himself at a table a bit far away from the trio, waved his hand with a languid smile. At the same time, Nathan, who had appeared from the inside the barracks, placed a teacup from the tray he was carrying in front of Kishir. As he poured tea from a teapot, too small in comparison to his hands, into the cup, a crisp and fragrant smell filled the dusty training field, seeming rather out of place. Such a wonderful aroma. It's a tea made from the leaves of the medicinal herb the Empress has recently cultivated. She sent it while you were away on your mission. Her Majesty? Always in her debt. I suppose I'll have to write her a letter of thanks. While Kishir's side was filled with serenity, the area surrounding Yudir was tense. Starting that day, Kana and Gakane had decided to train under Yudir for the development of their abilities. Although it might seem odd to receive training from Yudir, who was essentially a fellow soldier, even if he was the commander's assistant, the two of them had no objections, having seen his skills firsthand. Normally, many soldiers should have been in full swing training at that point, but now there was no one except them. This was because the entire cavalry had started a holiday that Kishir had granted the day before. When all the nobles turned their eyes to the cavalry after the incident of driving out Count Galen, Kishir seemed to have been waiting for the moment announcing a week-long holiday. The official reason was to celebrate the successful completion of cavalry's first mission, but in reality, a select few knew that it was a maneuver to prevent the red stone hidden within the cavalry from being exposed to unnecessary attention. The soldiers didn't know that the secret mission of their comrades, which had ended in a success and big reward, was to retrieve the red stone. However, they were extremely pleased to get a holiday thanks to it. There were quite a few people in the cavalry, like Yudir, who were not confident of their admission and left things to settle back in their hometowns, including those who wanted to show their families what they would be like after being admitted. Most of the soldiers left the barracks immediately. The vacation plan had initially began due to the conversation with Yudir during the mission to recover the red stone, but Yudir himself had ultimately given up the vacation. He couldn't afford to spend a whole week of his sad moment of his month dedicated to locating the red stone on something like a holiday. There were also a few members aside from Yudir who didn't take the vacation. Most of them either had no place to return to or their homes were too far to visit within a week. Among them was Kana, of course. At first, Yudir had planned to take her alone to personal training to improve her abilities. After the holiday, He intended to strengthen all members' abilities even further and had requested Kishir for permission related to the training. However, the problem was that Gakane was present when Yudir approached Khana to propose training together during the holiday. Training with Khana for a whole week? I want to join too. Let me do it. At first, Yudir refused. Training two people with different abilities could reduce his focus. However, Gakane was extremely persistent. He immediately cancelled his plan to spend his vacation in his hometown and clung to Yudir. Since he had received permission from Kishir to participate in the training plan, he would train the other members like Khana in enhanced training after a week anyway. So he argued there was no need to do it first. But Gakane was adamant. His obsession with strength was beyond what Yudir had imagined. You are training with Khana because the leader ordered you to investigate the Redstone, right? You think her current abilities are insufficient, so you are trying to teach Khana something more, aren't you? Then my shadow will definitely be helpful too. It was natural for him to think so. Having seen Kishir take back the Redstone that they thought would be presented to the Emperor, however, the one who ordered it was not Kishir, but Yudir himself, something Gakane naturally could not guess. Until then, Yudir had thought of Gakane as just a good-natured, diligent guy, but seeing his determination not to shy away from following him even to the restroom, Yudir's perception changed. Gakane Boulevard was a persistent bugger who pretended to be nice. Yudir, please, I already know how tremendous your skills are. How could I give up such an opportunity? I want to become as strong as you. If I train with you, I will do whatever you say. I really mean it. After being hassled all day, Yudir finally let out a long sigh. It's just 1 week. Nothing might change, and you might only suffer. Even so, are you willing to do as I say? Of course, if I gain nothing, that's my fault. I will never blame you. The Yudir from his past life might have refused nonetheless, but Yudir eventually nodded. If the one eager to walk the path of hardship regretted it, so be it. It wouldn't be his loss. All right. Thank you, Yudir. Gakane hugged Yudir tightly, his face filled with emotion. When Khana heard that Gakane would be training with them, she was greatly relieved that she wouldn't be alone. To her, Yudir was a cherished comrade who was nothing less than a lifesaver, but he was sometimes even more inscrutable than Kishir. The thought of training one-on-one with such a person for a whole week had made her secretly anxious. And so, two members became the first subjects of Yudir's ability enhancement training. Kishir expressed great interest in this training plan and decided that he would definitely observe it. Thus, today's situation had been set in motion. The training ground they were to use was constructed in a place that could never be seen from the outside. Despite being right behind their lodgings, it was not visible from within, making it exceedingly suitable for a training sessions like today's. Yudir, but can I really do it? Even with training, can I actually develop my ability to read an object's information without touching it within a month? Khana asked with a worried expression. She was aware of the potency of Yudir's ability, but she was the one receiving the training. With the leader Kishir watching over her, she felt afraid that she might disappoint them again, like the time when she was unable to help during the Redstone retrieval mission. You can do it, Yudir answered with short but assured certainty, then pulled out an object he bought earlier. Khana and Gakane's gaze focused on that. A book? What are you going to do with that? Khana, try reading the information of this book using your ability. Yudir purposely turned the back of the book to Khana so she couldn't read the title. With a puzzled expression, Khana approached and placed her hand on the book. Soon, a transparent energy began to ripple slightly between her fingers. It's a book that has been handled by many people. Most of them seem to think it's a difficult book. It seems to be about 20 years old, a source of warm comfort. As Kana spoke, her words gradually became less coherent and eventually faded. Yudir quietly observed her. I can't read more than this. This is my limit. Kana, when you use your ability, what do you usually think about? At Yudir's sudden question, Kana's eyes widened in surprise. Huh? I don't think about anything, only about needing to read quickly. I see. Then, this time, try using your ability while focusing on the thought that you must read information related to the title or content of this book. Can you do that? I have never tried before, but I will give it a shot. Kana took a deep breath and closed her eyes. Once again, she placed her hand on the book, and a short time later, a ripple, larger than before, began to emerge. Gakane, who was right next to her, seemed to notice this ripple as well, as he held his breath and looked surprised. In the beginning, there was a land without light. One day, God took pity on those wandering in the darkness and cast down light. The first light was small and hard, clustered like a pebble. Remember the first sentence well, as it's the most important. The first of 14 chapters, in total 99 chapters. This is. Slowly muttering, Kana opened her eyes and looked down at the book with a stunned expression. This is the scripture of the sun god, isn't it? Yes, that's right. Yudir flipped the book over. It was indeed an old copy of the scripture of the sun god. Despite being quite worn out from many hands over a long time, the cover still looked clean, as if it had been carefully preserved.